Real Talk with Joe and Cody is Wednesday. What? Wednesday the 22nd at 12 o'clock. My name's
Sure
Joe
is.
Skipper. I'm with eXp Realty out of Oregon with my buddy Cody Wilhelm with Residential Mortgage. How is it going, Cody? It's been so
Go.
long.
I
You,
know.
you've been. I'm going to blame it on you the last 2 weeks, even though it's
Yeah.
probably both of us. But
It's
I haven't
been
seen you in a while.
lots of adventures. Some fun, some not as fun, but
Yeah.
no, it's good. Got to go on a fun golf trip down to Bandon.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
That was awesome. Got some good weather. It only rained one day, 1.5 days. So
And did you actually do well?
I did. We
Like, are you a
played.
good golfer?
I don't know what good is. I'm not winning any tournaments, although we did win the tournament that we were in, so that was
Oh
pretty
really?
cool. Yeah.
Nice.
It was so we played 5 rounds, but only two of them were scored for
Okay.
the actual tournament.
Okay.
So we had a couple good golfers on our team. So I just encouraged them and try to make some shots when I could.
Gave them
But
whatever they need, food, drink,
yeah,
anything, whatever you need, I'll
yeah,
get.
exactly. No, for the 2 rounds that were scored, we all played really well.
Really?
So that was nice. So yeah,
Do you have a handicap?
I do. I do.
Can you
Yep.
do you want to say it online or do you want to keep it to yourself? Like,
No, I'll share it. Do you have a handicap?
I do.
Okay. So the thing that gets me about having a handicap is I feel like it is always a lot better than what I feel like I am.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
had,
Oh, absolutely.
I think it was last year or maybe 2 years ago. Um, I had played some really good golf and I can't seem to get my handicap back up to where I feel like it should be. So right now
Yeah.
I'm in 11,
That's pretty good.
but I feel like I play probably more like a 15,
Yeah.
13 to 15, but I'm
That's like
stuck in an
the
11.
well,
So
you play. I think I'm at 50, and it's unofficial. It's all in the app, like the app
okay.
I keep
Yeah.
track of all the. So it's like I think 15, 16, but I play like an
Okay.
18, 19,
Yeah.
20
See, that's how it
and
is. I feel
above.
like it's setting you up for failure. You got to play
Yeah,
really good to play to your handicap, but
for sure. For sure.
it's a
Well,
fun,
glad you had fun, man. I'm glad
fun
you're
battle.
back.
Yeah, me too.
We'll
It
talk
was
a
good
little
to
bit
be back.
about Venture coming on online
Yep.
live a couple weeks ago, but yeah, just wanted to chat with you about rates and kind of what's been going on with those. I know there has been some change in the positive way, at least in the short term. There's been some
Yep.
positive changes. What's your thoughts?
Yeah. It feels like every time we get some good momentum, it gets wiped away. And that's kind of where we're at right now. Like a couple weeks ago, they were going up. And then this last week, they came down and now they went up a little bit and then they're kind of coming down. So, I mean, on average, we're definitely sitting in a better spot than I thought we were going to be like a couple weeks ago, because it was like inflation was still a big issue and nothing really was pointing to rates coming down, but the market seems to be still kind of keeping things in line. Every time it feels like we're gonna jump back up, because it wasn't that long ago that we jumped back up into the mid fives again after
Yeah.
being down in the high sixes, and now we're kind of back in that spot again where we're getting back down to the low sevens, high sixes, and so we're kind of just leveling out and waiting for stuff. There's not a lot, every week there's new data that comes out. It's payroll stuff, it's inflation data. So I think we're kind of in just a little bit of a holding pattern until some of these new documents or new reports come out that show likely nothing has changed. So then there'll be this overreaction. But last week when the inflation data came out, it was right in line with what the expectations were. So I think that's kind of the bump that was needed to bring rates down. Because the last couple months, the inflation data was showing that it was coming in a little bit higher than what was expected. So then the market overreacts to that. So I think if we can continue to hit the numbers that are projected or be a little bit lower than that, then it's going to continue our like maintaining and maybe bringing rates down just a little bit. But from everything that I'm seeing, nothing is pointing towards a Fed rate drop
Yeah.
yet. I think that's still all going to be kind of, I don't know, TBD on either data that comes out or a point where it just has to happen, right? Like,
Yeah.
because I think at some point, and I'm not an expert in this by any means, I just read all the stuff, but it feels to me like at some point there may have to be the Fed dropping rates just to prevent a really bad ordeal, like businesses closing,
Yeah.
just people not being able to afford things, and not even so much in just the housing market, which that's kind of, like that's where I see everything is more in the housing market side of it. But then you start to see it on the business side of it, where you have businesses that have these huge loans
Yeah.
that are really being affected by it, and having to cut costs significantly, which then puts people on unemployment, or having to restructure things. So I think, the hope, obviously, and it has been this way for a long time, is just that they will start to come down, because inflation doesn't seem to be coming down. So either they just stick with we're just going to hold out until something falls apart, or something's got to give, because the consumer debt it just keeps going up. The government debt just keeps going, like everything debt wise keeps going up, but yet inflation is going up too. So how do you, I'm sure it's helped, but it doesn't seem to have really fixed the inflation side of it. I think people just tend to spend money. And if they don't have the money, then they put it on a credit card, or they get a personal loan, or they do something, because they're going to continue to live their lives until they just can't. And then they file bankruptcy and hit the reset
bad
button
things
again.
happen. Yep.
So long story short, feels like we're kind of just still stabilizing here in this norm of low 7, high 6. And then we have little blurbs where we go up into the 7.25, 7.5 range overall, but they seem to kind of be leveling out in the 7% ish range.
Yeah, it's like, it hasn't, I don't know, like, at least anecdotally, like, the buyers are still coming in. I do think I do not see first time home buyers that much, honestly, but it has the people that were like hedging their bets in January. We're like, okay, there's gonna be a ton of rate drops. We're gonna wait for those. Are starting to see that, hey, we just got to get in when when we can get in. So I'm kind of seeing that, because the market is oddly picking up, because I think those buyers are starting to just come in, that can afford it. It's not fun to afford it, but if they can't afford it, they're like, we can't keep waiting, because we don't know what's going to happen. But a random question for you is, we talked a little bit about it. Do you see a traditional rate drop leading up to a presidential election, or is that just random? Like, I would think, like, if I was president, I would want to drop the rate, or make things drop. So I'm just wondering, is that something that people could keep an eye out for, or is that something is that just me thinking it and not really a real thing?
I think it is a real thing. We've seen big reactions after the election. Like back, I can't remember off the top of my head what the rates did, because the rates were so low at the last time, or they were, I mean, because they were, at that time, they were like in the mid 3s, I think it was. And then 2020, 21, they came down even farther. So the last handful of elections, the interest rates have really been at a pretty good point, to where if there was a little bump or a decrease, it wasn't anything major. This one, I think there's a lot more focus on it, because they're at this higher point, that it would make sense to, like you said, kind of bring things down and try to make it look a little bit better. I do remember in, I guess it was 16, when Trump was elected, the market kind of went crazy, because there was an anticipation that he was going to add so much to the economy. So the rates kind of went a little nuts, thinking like, hey, here we go. Things are going to change drastically. There's going to be a lot more focus on jobs and the economy and everything. And so it kind of ballooned a little bit. But then it leveled out after a little bit of time too. It's just kind of the knee-jerk reaction to the market of like, okay, buckle up, here we go. And then things kind of start to settle in. But I really thought that by now we would start to see, and I guess there is still time, but I thought we maybe would start to see some of that, just to kind of help improve numbers, bring in a little bit of maybe confidence of like, okay, things are starting to turn. Maybe it's not as bad as we thought, and try to get more votes that way. But I don't know. They just seem to be sitting pretty tight on inflation as the main thing for rates. But I did see something the other day too, not to just keep rambling on it, but the amount of, I should have had it with me so I could actually read it, but it was just the overall cost that the federal government is paying in interest with the rates being
Mm,
higher. Like, if anybody can use the rates going down, it is the actual government, because they're
yeah,
paying gazillions of dollars in this higher
yeah.
interest. So I think it's ready. We're all primed and ready
Everyone's
for it.
ready.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. But it makes,
yeah,
I don't know. It's above my head in a lot of ways. But yeah,
yeah, yeah. What are
politics
you
shouldn't
seeing, and
factor into it,
what
but
are
it
you
does.
seeing on the buyer seller side? Obviously, I mean, you kind of just
Yeah.
alluded to a little bit of it, but
Yeah, it is. It's picked up over the last month. So May, kind of everyone just started coming out and started wanting to sell or talk about selling and talk about buying. So anecdotally, things are picking up. I know that different areas and different neighborhoods and different cities have up or downs. But for our company, it's going pretty well. We
nice.
will have, and we'll talk more about it. But we talked a little bit about the NAR lawsuit and the settlement and all
Mm-hmm.
that stuff. So that's kind of coming to grips. Everything's kind of honing down and locking in what we'll do. Two of the things that'll probably happen, if not is set in stone, is that, normally when you list a house, you can the seller, you list the buyer's agent, what the buyer's agent is going to be offered in the commission. It was listed in the MLS so that the buyer's agent can come in and see what they're being offered for this
Okay.
particular home, or what the seller was going to offer that. That will not be in the MLS system anymore. A lot of misinformation about that,
Mm,
but you can still offer commission. It just can't be listed in the MLS. So you can still
mm.
discuss it. You can still talk to people about it. The
Uh-huh.
MLS just can't be the source of it. It's
Okay.
all legal stuff. So
Yeah.
that's one thing that people will think. The thing that will affect buyers a lot, that will be shocked if you do not pay attention and come into the system around August when they think that
Mm-hmm.
it's going to happen, is that you can't just ask an agent to see a house like without having a buyer's agent agreement
Mm.
prior to seeing a home. So which
Okay.
will include buyer's agent's commission, what they provide for you, just like a listing agreement. Like you have the
Mm-hmm.
agent sit down, here's what I do, here's how awesome I am, here's everything I do for your house. It's
Yeah.
going to have to be the same thing with the buyer, that the buyer is going to come in and say, here's what I do, here's how awesome I am, here's what I do for all my buyers, and here's what I charge in commission. So
Mm.
having said that, buyers are now going to sign an agreement saying we will pay you X amount in commission on a sale of a home.
Okay.
Long, it's really convoluted, but more likely than not, and what we hope is that, the sellers still can offer commission, and at least at this point are still offering commissions to the
Mm-hmm.
buyer's agent. So that's kind of not, it's kind of a moot point that,
Yeah.
you sign this agreement with the buyers. If the seller's willing to pay it, you don't have to pay that as the
Mm-hmm.
buyer. But it's something
Okay.
for buyers to know, that if the seller decides, you love a home and the seller says we're giving the buyer's agent nothing,
Mm-hmm.
then that buyer has signed an agreement saying they will pay, that commission. So
Yeah.
it's going to switch things up. Personally, I think that it's not, buyers are already priced out of the market anyway. So now to
Mm-hmm.
add the fact that they have to pay for the buyer's agent, out of money
Right.
they don't generally have up front, whereas the
Yeah.
seller has that profit, that they make. So
Sure.
anyways, we can get into it another time, but that'll be changing at the end of the summer. So I'm trying
Okay.
to keep everyone updated on that so that they're not blindsided, especially buyers and maybe the ones you talk to say, be ready for that. And your company
Mm-hmm.
might be, I know lenders are starting to talk about how are we going to help buyers with this new
Yeah.
stuff. So
Yeah.
it'll all be in flux.
Yep. I did see something. I think it was the 15th of May that it was released. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac.
Oh yeah.
They
Yep.
you probably saw it too, where
Yep.
they are, if the seller does pay for the buyer's commission, so say it's not structured in the original what they're paying the agents up front, the
Yeah.
sellers can pay the buyer's agent commission, and it doesn't factor into their cap of what they can pay for the buyer's closing costs.
Yeah.
So they're keeping them separate, which is nice, because if it does ever come down to that, where it's like this is the only way that it's going to work,
That's going to
then
work.
at
Yep.
least it can still be factored in, because there are those people that just, they might be able to come up with enough down payment, but they can't come up with closing costs. And if the seller's already paying those, but then they've got the commission on top of that, at least
For
they
sure.
can both be pooled together, which is good. Something
Yeah.
to, because I know that's been a big talk, is can they get financed into the loan, if that's an issue,
Yeah.
if that's a thing. So maybe down the road that will be something that gets explored, but
I
so
think once
far
we
that's
start
the
to see a
latest.
trend, you'll have to see it come into effect, and then you'll see what sellers do in response to that,
Yeah.
and then when buyers are priced out, if they are, then you kind of say, okay, lenders will start kind of adapting to that,
Yeah.
as needed. But the hope is
Sure.
that, I think one, for on the agent side, I think buyers have to show their value. I think we've talked
Hmm.
about this, is that they just, you can't just put people on an email list and then say, hey, you got
Right.
to give me that commission. Like you
Yeah.
have to show value and show why you're worth what you're worth. So, but
Hmm.
selling agents should too. So I don't think
Sure.
it's necessarily bad for the industry. It'll be bad for buyers, I think, if sellers start saying, 0% commission,
Right.
because either A, they're going to not have a buyer's agent with them, so they'll go straight to the seller's agent,
Mm-hmm.
which either A, if he's good or she's good, is going to say, well, you still have to pay me because I'm going to represent both of you,
Yeah.
or
Right.
or they don't, and they don't do a good job representing both. So
Mm-hmm.
it could be a little bit of a mess, but as of right now, I think we currently explain it to buyers and sellers, and all of them so far have been willing to offer commission
Yeah.
to buyers agents. So
Well, because nothing has really changed other than just disclosing the information better or just making sure that
yep,
it's known. Like, I still think there is a huge benefit to a seller to have, to pay for it, especially if it's all priced in and you like
yeah,
where it's listed at, and you know that you're paying for both sides of
yeah,
it. Like, you're going to want those buyers agents looking around for stuff rather than just
for sure.
relying strictly on the listing agent. So I think there's a ton of value in it. So
Yeah. Yes. And sellers, like, I think what we did a bad job and why the lawsuit came out was that sellers weren't explained that they can offer 0%. They could have offered 0%
mm,
before the lawsuit,
yeah.
but it just was kind of, we didn't do a good job at explaining that to them. And I think that's where
Hmm.
people felt like they were betrayed a little bit by agents saying, well, I didn't
Yeah.
know that that could happen. And
Right.
so I think that's why we're in this mess. But
Hmm.
yeah, I don't think it's a mess. I think it's an opportunity to change our
Yeah.
industry for the better and make us better at what we do, and
Yep.
justify why we're here. So, but
Yep.
that'll be coming up. Yeah, what else has come up? More positive news is Venture came out a couple weeks ago. We've dropped two
Yeah.
episodes, so that's been really exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, the got one coming out on Friday, so we'll just have one once a week, every Friday coming out. And so if people are watching and you want to be on the show with us, head over to our stuff. Apple still has not like gone through the process of getting us on Apple, but we're on Spotify, on the YouTube channels. And what else are we on? Um, I think Spotify and YouTube are kind of our
Yeah.
primary right now, but Apple will be on Apple pretty soon once they go through the approval process on
Heck
that.
yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. That's
man.
exciting.
Yeah,
It's been a journey, It's like you don't know until you start getting into it what all it's going to take, and
for
and
sure.
it's been awesome to see it get to this point, and now we can kind of build on it and continue to bring people on. Oh, I think I lost you. Just me here. All right. I got the floor to myself. All right. Well, I think, oh, there he is. He's back.
Hey, are you there?
He's back. I'm here.
Sorry, man. Sorry.
I was just
Yeah.
talking trash about you.
My phone. As always, we have to have some sort of technical difficulty. But
Right.
yeah, sorry, I missed what you were saying. But yeah, it's been. I remember us saying like at the beginning of the year, we're like, oh yeah, we'll just record it and put it out. It's not a big deal. Like, let's just do it. Like,
Yeah.
and
It's
so then once
easy.
we got into it, it's like, okay, there's a lot more that goes into it that we have to get
Yes.
ready and get things going. So we finally figured it out and got it going. So I'm super pumped about it. But
Yeah, me too.
and we got more coming and more interviews coming, so that's exciting. So if you want to be on it, let Cody and I know, um,
Hmm.
and we can fit a time in to kind of record and go through that. So sorry I
Yep.
missed what you were saying. What were you saying?
I don't know. I
You're
really
like, I
don't
don't know
know.
anymore. You just
Yeah.
ditched me.
It was
You
so
just
long
ditched
ago.
me
It was like
live.
2 minutes ago.
Uh, okay, man. Well, I just wanted to chat
Yeah.
about that. Thank you for catching up. Another
Yeah.
episode on Friday of Venture. Jesse, your friend with
Yep.
Softwash, business owner, is coming on Friday. We'll be
Love it.
dropping that, so that'll be good. And other than that, man, that's all I got for you.
I love it. Until next week, we'll have who knows what type of things will have happened in this next week, but hopefully it's all
Exactly.
good things.
Exactly. Okay, man. Well, have a good week, and we'll chat with you later.
Okay, sounds good.